Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Faster Than a Bullet. There won't be a very, musical intro today. Now, last week, the episode came out and was filmed I think it was filmed on the Monday or the Tuesday, and it came out on the Wednesday. And that was before we heard the tragic news of Kyle Busch's passing. Now, I already did a video on my YouTube about this, and if you want to get my reaction to the horrible news, then you can look at it on there. Although that's up to you, of course. So this episode is going to be a lot more solemn, a lot more. How can I put it? It's going to be less animated and more just me talking for a bit about the sports that happened this weekend while paying tribute to Kyle Busch. I mean, I said in the description that this podcast was going to go through drivers, and I will probably do a special episode on Kyle Busch because he is somebody who definitely deserves it. So I'm recording this on the Monday, the 25th. So all of the racing action has just finished in this weekend. I'm actually very well prepared this time to cover everything. So what we're going to do today is we're just going to be doing some reviewing, and then I'll do another episode which should hopefully be on Thursday or Friday, which is previewing IndyCar, NASCAR, and MotoGP. So we'll do that in another episode. So this is episode 12. Welcome, everybody. Apologies for the tone shift to what it normally is like, but again, today is a very different episode because, of course, we lost Kyle Busch to what was found out to be sepsis. He had pneumonia and eventually progressed into sepsis. And when I found out he had died, I was shocked, and I put my reaction to it on Instagram, and yeah, I was devastated. And so for the rest of the week, I kind of I didn't make any reels or anything. I made one video which was paying tribute to Busch, and I only put that on my YouTube. And so I took a week off basically, because when something like this happens, if it's somebody who's like with Alex Zanardi, it's a miracle he lived that long. With guys like Hans Hermann and Hermano da Silva Ramos that passed away recently, they were old. Kyle Busch was still racing up until the week he died. And so it's just a massive shock, So I'm going to start off with NASCAR because I feel like that's the best way to begin. And of course, Daniel Suarez took a brilliant victory. I did watch every single lap of it. And the thing is it started raining, and I was like, I don't know if this race will get restarted again. So I decided to go to sleep, and I made the right call because the race didn't restart. Daniel Suarez took victory. It was a really good strategy call from Spire to put him out on 2 tires because they could foresee that the rain was going to come. They went for the risk, and it paid off. Christopher Bell's finally ended what was a very dismal run of form for him and for Joe Gibbs. His Joe Gibbs entry anyway, because he hadn't scored a top 10 finish since Martinsville. So he finished in second. And then Denny Hamlin finished in third. Again, he's continuing very good run of form. Same with Tyler Reddick. I mean, both of those two have pretty much been on it since Atlanta. I mean, in Reddick's case, it's been since Daytona. None of them have finished outside the top 20 since Atlanta. Then, fourth, as I said, was Reddick. Kyle Larson finally ended a barren spell, and I mentioned that in my 8 stats last week, which was if Larson's bad run of form continued, it would be his worst run in the Cup Series since, I think it was 2017. But that's now over. He finished in 5th. It was a very good race for the Hendrick cars to begin with. But very good race for Joe Gibbs, especially because they had a very good result because Ty Gibbs finished in 6th. It was a very smooth transition there. And then Ryan Blaney was in 7th for Penske. 8th place was Joey Logano in the other Penske. He is still outside of the bubble, though, for the playoffs, and he's actually behind Cindric in the standings at the moment. 9th was Byron. who's been quite on and off this season, I would say, in terms of consistency. Certainly in the last few rounds anyway. While in 10th was Zane Smith, who got his 4th top 10 of the season. And so, could he be an outside threat for a playoff place? Maybe. But it was an interesting race. I was watching it, but to be honest, my heart really wasn't in it because of everything that had happened last week. But there was a lot of incidents, and there were some guys who were in the race who, they were very quickly sort of wiped out of the race. So, for example, Zilic and Cindric, so Cindric spun, and Zilic unfortunately got collected. Elliott had an incident, and so did Chastain. Then Briscoe had an incident, which involved Preece. Austin Dillon and Timmy Hill both had mechanical problems. And then Catherine Legg was the last driver to finish, and she had a tire that went down, I believe. But there were some guys who really got screwed over by bad luck. Zane Smith was actually one of them. He had a really bad pit stop. Carson Osvar was another one. As you guys know, I'm a Carson. Bit of a soft spot for him, and unfortunately he didn't have a very good time of it. Finished 2 laps down in 23rd, and he had a lot of issues. He had a puncture, he had a really, really poor pit stop, which costed him about 20 seconds, which is, when your fastest lap is, in practice, is 29 seconds, you're kind of screwed. And what really shows that he was quick was the fact that he was second in practice, and Michael McDowell, who was his teammate, was third. McDowell finished in 14th, and the guy who finished in first in practice was Ricky Stenhouse, who had a very good race. I'll give him credit for that, and he finished in 12th. My driver of the day would have been Shane Van Gisbergen, because he was outstanding. Like quite a few laps, he was really, really quick. He didn't just drop back like McDowell did, because McDowell for a while was running sort of in the 20s, although he got himself back onto the lead lap and managed to hang on to it. SVG was there the whole time. He was up there with all the Gibbs cars. He was up there with the Hendrick cars, apart from Bowman, because Bowman was, again, he was a little bit back. But it was a great performance from Van Gisbergen. Penske were on for a good result with all 3 of their cars, and then Cindric, I think they were anyway, but Cindric then obviously lost it. And in the end, it was only 2 Penske's in the top 10. I think Cindric would have been up there as the race progressed, but that didn't happen. One thing that was big, only one RFK car actually finished the race on the lead lap for once. Brad Keselowski. But it's very fitting that the guys who finished first and second both drove for Kyle Busch in Motorsports, because of course Daniel Suarez drove for Kyle Busch Motorsports in the truck series, and he was quite competitive in it, and Kyle really helped him out in that. And Christopher Bell also raced in the truck in the truck series, and he won the championship for Kyle Busch, and he finished 3rd in his rookie season with them. So yeah, it's not easy. And Suarez and Chastain and Riggs, who won the three big races in NASCAR at the weekend, they sort of did the bow that Kyle Busch so often did. To be honest, there was a few lead changes, but it wasn't. That was probably, there was a few there's 2 red flags. I have to say the commentary was a lot better as well, so credit where credit's due. So now I'm going to go and sort of move my tone a little bit to be a bit more positive, because the Indy 500 was on. This was absolute cinema. And it was, I have to tell you, I was watching it live on stream, and I put the clip up on my shorts, on my TikTok, and on my Insta. What a finale. So picture this, right? So the race starts, Plo's leading at the front with McLaughlin and Malukas, and that's sort of the way it is for quite a while in the early stages. Then Ed Carpenter spins, Ryan Hunter race spins, and Catherine Legg unfortunately gets collected. She was trying to do the double, and while she did participate in both, she didn't do particularly great in either of them, neither of which were her fault in fairness. Then they restarted, and then Ed Carpenter binned it as well. And then another caution came out, and strategies were beginning to slowly change in the field. Sorry, it was Rossi that was at the front. I've just realised it was Rossi that was at the front. So I got that one wrong, guys, so apologies. But then the caution came out, and Rossi lost a lot of time on pit road on lap 17. This was when a lot of the guys pitted. And what ended up happening was the top three was the one I said, which was Palou, Malukas, and it was Scott McLaughlin. And so these guys are sort of fighting for position. Then the caution comes out on lap 26, for Carpenter. They restart, and a few guys gamble on strategy. And the strategies, I can't remember all of them off the top of my head, but there were two main strategies, and this would come into pass when Will Power retired on lap 91 with a mechanical failure. Now, it says here that Alexander Rossi had a mechanical failure, but I'm pretty sure he withdrew due to his leg pain, because Rossi had basically crashed. As you might have saw on my shorts, I posted a clip about, and he crashed with O'Ward and with Grosjean, and it's quite funny because O'Ward finished fourth in the end, and Grosjean finished in ninth. So, almost as if being in that crash was good luck. Although to be fair for Palou, it actually wasn't. That's not a particularly amazing finish for him at the 500 because he's finished second twice there. Newgarden then loses it on the restart of another caution because the caution comes out due to wet weather, and this is when the strategies begin to divert because a lot of the guys pit under Newgarden's caution, and some of them pit later on. Rasmussen then comes in and retires with mechanical problems, and at this point Malukas and Palou are leading the guys who are on the alternative strat. Well, what is the main strategy, which is basically pit and hope for a caution, also known as pit and go like hell, basically. And you're thinking with 9 laps to go that it's not going to work for those guys because there's 3 guys at the front who are on this alternative strategy in which they can make it to the end but barely on fuel. And the 3 guys are Pato O'Ward and the 2 Meyer Shanks, Felix Rosenqvist and Marcus Armstrong. And so this battle emerges. O'Ward hangs on for quite a while, and as a result, Malukas and Palou gain a load of time on the guys at the front because O'Ward doesn't have the fuel to get to the end that Rosenqvist does, right? So stay with me here. I hope I've not lost you guys. Then, with 9 laps left, Kyle Collette crashes, and the red flag comes out. Now, unlike in F1, you can't make any changes to tires or fuel or anything. The only thing you can do is change batteries in the car, I think, and 1 or 2 other things, like give the drivers water and a fan and things like that. That's what James Hinchcliffe said verbatim on the commentary. So Malukas is 4th, and Palou is, I think, 6th, because Palou didn't manage to get past Romain Grosjean. So on the restart, the top 6 is going to be Rosenqvist, O'Ward, Armstrong, Malukas, and then Grosjean and Palou. Right? The race restarts, and Mick Schumacher taps the wall with about 5 to go. 4 to go. And they bring out the caution for nothing, right? Because it's basically a tap of the wall. He keeps going. He finishes in 18th by the end of it. And he's on the lead lap. The only rookie that finished on the lead lap out of the rookies in the field. So that happens. And then that means that we're going to get a 1-lap shootout. So Rosenqvist leads them away. And Malukas at this point has managed to... Malukas works his way up into the lead. Right, he works his way up into the lead. I think at this point he'd got himself up into 2nd, by the restart, he'd gotten ahead of Ward and Armstrong, and he was just behind Rosenqvist. So on the restart, he gets ahead of Rosenqvist and he starts pulling away, and I'm thinking he's going to do this. Now, you guys got to remember, this was my pick to win the 500. I picked Malukas out to win the 500. So I'm buzzing thinking, okay, he's going to win. And then the two Meyer Shanks, Armstrong and Rosenqvist, are side by side for about half of the final lap. And then coming out of turn 4, Rosenqvist has a run. In fact, not half the lap, pretty much the entire lap up until the last corner, right? Rosenqvist gets an insane run on the outside, and he uses the toe from Malukas. Malukas tries to break the air, break the slipstream, and Rosenqvist gets ahead of him at the line by 0.023 seconds. Not 0.2 of a second, 0.023 seconds. And I'm devastated for Malukas. And I'm having to watch the Canadian Grand Prix at the same time. And that is why I would rather Monaco have been on earlier on in the day, because I was raging that came on at the same time as the Canadian Grand Prix. And we're going to get to F1 eventually. But I was absolutely gutted for Malukas. He was in tears. And I saw this funny clip. And it was IndyCar fans, David Malukas fans, reacting to the last lap of the 500. They're like, yeah. They're like, come on, yeah. And then as soon as they see Rosenqvist just eke past, they're like, and that was, I'm not going to say that was my reaction, because I'm really happy for Rosenqvist, and it's a shock that he won, but I think Malukas was who a lot of people wanted to win because of the fact he's come close before to winning an IndyCar race. He's never won an IndyCar race. Rosenqvist won one, and that was back in Road America in his rookie or sophomore season. That was with Chip Ganassi. And then he moved to McLaren, wasn't particularly consistent there, and now he's become sort of the team leader at Meyer Shank, and he's done a very good job there, by the way. He obviously got pole in Long Beach and got rather unfortunate, and also the fact that Alex Blow exists. And that's another thing. So, Plo got given a penalty, and he wasn't disqualified. Now, last year, something similar happened with the Andrettis, and they were put to the back of the field. Now, what I will say is Alex Palou isn't exactly the most popular figure in IndyCar, mainly because he's literally the greatest driver to have ever raced in the damn series, right? And so, a lot of people are angry that he wasn't disqualified. Instead, the team were given a fine and they were docked a few points in the championship, which won't matter because he's going to win the championship anyway, right? He's like 37 points ahead of Malukas. Yeah. Right, I'm back now, guys. I went away for a while. Yeah, so I was talking about Polo, wasn't I? Yeah, he probably should have been given a penalty. But he wasn't. Which is rather interesting, personally. Is that the... Just have a look at that. Yeah, so, honestly, as I said before, I'm gutted for Malukas. I'm gutted for Pato and Marcus Armstrong. McLaughlin came really close. I think that's the closest he's gotten to a 500 win. I think Malukas is destined to win a 500 one day, though. He's just that quick a driver, you know. It's just more of a matter of when, I think, rather than if. Is that charged? I don't think this is charged. It's a light source I have. Oh, hang on. We have light. Perfect. You guys can actually see my beautiful blue eyes now. /S. -S, whatever. So yeah. In terms of drivers with really bad races, I mean, Newgarden was running really well. He had to start in about like 20th or somewhere like that. He worked his way all the way up into the top 5, and then he just binned it unprovoked. And ruined his race. Dixon tried the alternative strategy. It didn't work. I don't even know what happened to him at the end, to be honest. He just kind of fell off. Same with Kirkwood. See, Lundgaard and Stingray Rob were on a really weird strategy. I seem to recall. I think no, it's Kevin Simpson. Sorry, Lundgaard and Simpson were on a really weird strategy because they were between the two strategies that I was talking about, and it kind of worked. I mean, Simpson finished 14th, Lundgaard finished 17th. Yeah, Grosjean had a really good day. So did VK. Obviously, Ferrucci did because it's Ferrucci, for God's sakes. Honestly, three things are inevitable in life: death, taxes, and Santino Ferrucci. Santino Ferrucci finishing in the top 10 of the Indy 500. I just realised Malukas' run of top 10 finishes this season's ended. I should have put that in my 8 stats, but I didn't. All the 8 stats will be out by the time you guys are seeing this, probably, because I've already edited them all. Actually, I just need to release them one at a time. I just realized Nolan Siegel is. I'm pretty sure, is that him that's in the? Let me check. He's in the. For sake. Yeah, Siegel's not in the leaders circle at the moment, which is wild. Along with Stingray Rob and Mick Schumacher. Although I don't think that's the case now. I think it's actually Rob, Schumacher, and Rasmussen that are now. I think. It's not been updated on Wiki. Right. So yeah, Palou still leads the standings, annoyingly. Again, I'll keep saying it. It's not because I don't like him. It's because he's a good driver. But he should have been disqualified, and I think some teams will go and if Palou wins the championship by a tiny margin, I think some teams will genuinely go to the stewards and say, "Look, you've set a precedent here by doing what you did with the Andretti's last year. You got to do it with Palou, man. You got to do it with Palou. Like, you got to do it. You just got to do it." You know, you set the standard last year with the Andretti's and with the Penske's in qualifying as well. You've got to do it. You've got to give him a disqualification. I think they'll do that. Thing is Chip Ganassi said that they'll take the penalty, and I retweeted it on Instagram. I reposted it on Instagram, and I was like, of course they're gonna take it. They've been basically let off with a slap on the wrist. Like, instead of getting disqualified, they've been given a light fine and docked a couple points. It's wait, Scott Elkins is now the managing director of officiating. I didn't even know that. Wow, it's a shame that Ray Evernham is the one that's on the panel. Because I think he's better at being an analyst than he is being involved in race direction. It was the same with Brian Barnhart as well. I think they were both better being like that than being race directors. Another thing I forgot to mention, well done to Sebastian Weldon, who I have been rooting for quite a while now, especially since I watched the Lionheart documentary about his late father Dan, who I mentioned in my 8 stats, when I mentioned about Malukas finishing in second 2 years in a row. Daniel Weldon was the last driver to do that. And Seb is currently leading the Formula Regional standings, so he's going to be definitely one to watch out for. Him, Dean, Nakamura, Berta, Rashid Al-Dahari, and Reno Franco are currently in the top 4 standings. Saleem Hanna is another driver I am very impressed with, and these are going to be some of the guys to watch out for who are coming through the ranks. If I had to pick one standout, it would probably be Seb, because considering he has never raced in Europe up until last season, he has done a fantastic job, and I think he is going to be in Formula 1 one day, if not in IndyCar. His brother Oliver is also racing in USF Juniors, I believe, or USF 2000. I will need to check it right now. I'm trying to remember which one he is in, because he finished second, I think, in USF Juniors. Fifth, sorry, in USF Juniors. And this season, he is competing in the USF 2000 series, I believe, and he's running in the top 10 of that. I think 12th he is, sorry. However, he did miss the opening round of the season, and so if he had done, if he had literally finished in last place in both races, he would have been up into the top 10 of the standings. So, and if you look at his results, from 4 races, he got 63 points. So he averaged about, let me do some math here, 15 points a race, 15 or 16 points a race. Yeah, 16 points a race. So if you do the math, add on another 32 for the 2 races in St. Petersburg, and he'd be on 95 points, which would put him 5th in the standings. And that is literally where the top rookie is. So he would be the top rookie, essentially. He's doing a great job, and I wish him well. I wish both of them well. It's crazy that, you know, those two are now racing at really high levels, and Seb's doing a great job. He's 17, and he's probably going to be in Formula 3 next year. He's progressed phenomenally. You know, in his first year single-seaters, he won Skip Barber. In his second season of single-seaters, he finished 3rd in USF Juniors. Then he went to Italian F4, and he finished 3rd in the standings in his first season in Europe. And he finished 4th in the F4 Grand Prix of Macau as well, which was very impressive. And now he's doing absolute bits in the Formula Regional Series. And, you know, it's not like they're only 1 round in. You know, they're 2 rounds into an 8-round season. They've done 5 races out of, let me do some math here. 5 races out of 7, 9, 11, 14... 17, 20. So not a huge sample size, but he's doing a very good job, and yeah, he's driving really well. So I just thought I'd say that he won both of the races in Zandvoort, and this is really good preparation because, of course, they raced at the Red Bull Ring in the first round, and he got 2 podiums there, and then they're going to Spa, and I don't think he's ever actually raced at Spa. I don't even know if he's raced at the Red Bull Ring. I don't remember where Italian F4 goes. I think they do go outside Italy for a round, but it was Catalunya. So he's winning on tracks he's never raced around before, which is insanely impressive because a lot of these guys will have raced around Zandvoort before in other series, whether that be British F4, in the case of guys like Alex Ninovich, or even GB3, I'm pretty sure as well. There's a few other series as well that go there. So basically, he's going to have only 2 rounds that he's familiar with this season, which is Monza and Imola. He's not been to any of the other races on this calendar as a driver. So he's been fantastic, and I just wanted to add that in because it's good to keep an eye on some of the feeder series. I don't know what the Formula 4 results were, so I'll go and have a little look at that if I can. Let's see. Formula 4, there we go, right. Currently in F4, so Samalisto, who I think's in his second season, his 3rd season, sorry, is currently doing really well. So is Alp Aksoy, sorry, pronounced it wrong, Turkish driver, and he is in his 1st season a single-seater, so he is probably the one to look out for. There's a few other names in here that are recognizable, such as Thomas Behrman, obviously Ollie Behrman's brother, Alexander Bondarev, who I don't even know if he's still with Williams or not, but he's certainly, yeah, he still is apparently. Ari Bansal, who's quite experienced by now, I'd say, in single-seaters. I see that, yeah, it's his 3rd season. See, the thing is, right, if you're in F4 and it's your 3rd season in single-seaters, you are experienced. That is literally how it goes. So yeah, he's quite experienced by now. Then you've got Edward Robinson, and his nationality is so random because I'm pretty sure he's got an English mother and a Spanish father. So he goes by Edu Robinson. So, and he's also in his 3rd season of single-seaters as well. I'm trying to remember where I recognize the name from. He was in Formula Regional last season. That's where I recognize it from. But I think that's most of the stuff I need to cover. I don't think there is, so we'll move on to the F1 feeder series now, and we will start off with F1 Academy, and Alisha Palmowski is going to win this season's championship. It is inevitable. I just realized they're not racing until Silverstone, and I will be there. I will be there, and I will be reporting on... I genuinely need to have a look at this. What is actually on that weekend? Like, I know it's early July. Don't tell me IndyCar's on. Oh my gosh, guys. I don't think you understand how busy I'm going to be. Thank goodness WEC isn't, or MotoGP isn't on, because I would be in an absolute state. F1, NASCAR, F1 Academy, F2, F3, and IndyCar are all on the weekend. I'm at the British Grand Prix. Although I'm really happy that F1 Academy is on, because it hasn't been on the last few years at the British Grand Prix. It hasn't been on since it rebranded. Because let's be honest, W Series is basically F1 Academy now, except they've had a lot of rule changes which are, I think, very agreeable. Now, I will do a little bit of self-promotion, and I will potentially, just for a minute, switch to my screen, switch to a different screen. So yes, so Matilda Pats took victory in the second race in F1 Academy, I believe. Let me just check it real quick. Yep. And she did a great job. It was a very hectic race, so if you guys want to check out my article on it, it's on Dive Bomb, which is obviously the website I work for. They're FIA accredited. They go to press conferences for the feeder series, which is very cool. I've been writing for them for quite a while now, to be fair. Coming close to 9 months, I think. Right, so I joined them in August, but I didn't properly write for them until I think October, because I was trying to figure out what I was going to do for them, and I'm doing feeder series work. So I wrote a Formula 2 article, which I will talk about in a bit, but I also wrote this. But Alisha Palmowski dominated the weekend. She won 2 races, and then in this race, she had a little bit of contact. I will go through the article now. So as you guys can see, Matilda Pats won. Now, originally, Alba Larson finished in 3rd, and Kelly Countryman was in 2nd. However, it was later revealed that Larson got a penalty and Peyton Westcott was promoted up to 3rd, Granada up to 4th, Billard to 5th, Felbermeyer to 6th, Bruce to 7th, and Ferreira to 8th. Kosterman and Palmowski just outside the top 10. However, because these things are written and they're almost immediately put out, basically, it's the case that it's basically the case that you don't edit these things after they go out, because they're meant to be breaking, reports, basically. And so I got this out really quickly afterwards. I'm talking like I got this out like within an hour. No, actually even less, like 20 minutes. Like, you gotta have this out within like 20 minutes of the race being done. And so yeah, fair play to Matilda Pats. I was rooting for her because she's German. So, and obviously that's where she debuted last year. For people who don't remember, that's where she debuted. She debuted in Montreal last year, and she didn't do too bad. I think she was one of the better wildcard entries. But Westcott had a really good weekend. So did Megan Bruce. Props to her. She was absolutely fantastic to watch. Some of her racing with Felbermeyer in the 3rd race was amazing. Like, on the last lap, the two of them fighting for 2nd, it was beautiful racing. And Felbermeyer came out on top, so fair play to her. But yeah, Palmowski won by, I think, 10 seconds in a couple of the races. It was mayhem. So that's sort of F1 Academy done. Unfortunately, Rachel Robertson didn't score any points. She got taken out in race 2 by Elle Lloyd, although to be fair, it wasn't really Lloyd's fault. It was more so a bottleneck. Well, no. Yeah, it was more so a bottleneck behind Jade Jacquet. I wouldn't have given Lloyd a penalty for it. I think they did, but I wouldn't have given her a penalty for it because I don't think it was avoidable. But then we've got F2, and I'll go and get onto my other article if you guys want to check it out. So this is my writers page. That's the link if you want to if you guys want to go and check it out. But Noel Leon won the sprint, and it was a really fun race. Well, if you aren't an Alex Dunne fan, or if you're not a fan of if you're a fan of, let's see, Nicholas Solov, Ritomo Miata, Colton Herta, and a few others. By the way, I'm going to get to the elephant in the room of Keane Shields scoring 10 points. Wait, what? Solov got penalised, didn't he? Ah, right, okay. We will get to that, okay? There is an elephant in the room that has to be addressed, but Leon was fantastic. And yeah, it was a really, really fun race. a lot of cautions though, which came out. Race 2, I remember very well though, because that was also chaotic. There was a lot of penalties in this race and a lot of chaos. And in the end, it was a Rodin 1-2. And there's a very funny team radio that got played. I'll go and see if I can find it for you guys. I'll go and find it for you guys. Hopefully this is muted. It is. Right, so I need to get this up, guys, so give me a second. Basically, there was a really funny team radio with Alex Dunne, where, let's see if I can find it. It's here. So look at what Dunne says here. Look at what he says in a minute, right? Here, I think here it is. Tell Horny, let's just go at the restart. Let's work together and build a gap. Don't want a repeat of last time. He actually said that. And you know what, right? Fair play to Dunne and Stenshorne, because they worked together perfectly, and they did just that. Those two and Meany just pulled away. Kushmini's just holding everybody else up behind them, because he's like trying to pull off a strategy that was never going to work. And in the end, he finished in 9th? That just shows how chaotic it is. I'm pretty sure, right? Only like 11 cars really actually finished the race. And so if you finished, you had a good chance of getting points. It was absolute pandemonium. It was chaos. And Stenshorne and Dunne capitalized on it. Unfortunately for Bogdanovic, he had an engine failure while he was battling for the win. And he got very unlucky. And once again, the Mechachrome lottery goes to absolutely brutally punish Bogdanovic, who probably should be in the top 5 of the standings at the moment. Unfortunately, it just didn't happen for him. And that's the problem, that I could make a whole video on this and about how Mechachrome really needs to fix their bloody engines, because they are absolutely terrible. But one thing I want to point out, you might notice that there is a certain person in 17th place in the standings, and a certain person in 19th in the standings, both of whom I predicted would score no points this season. So I would officially like to apologise to AIX Racing. I got you guys completely wrong. Cian Shields finished in 5th place in the Montreal feature. What? It's very confusing. And also, Emerson Fittipaldi Jr. finished 5th in the sprint. And to be fair, Emo was genuinely really quick in the sprint. I will give him that. Shields got a bit lucky with strategy and with everybody else crashing out, but Emo Fittipaldi Jr. was genuinely quick in the sprint. And so I will give him proper credit. He was actually quick in the sprint. Shields did get a bit lucky. What I mean a bit lucky, I mean he got very lucky. I mean Bogdanovic having an engine failure and about 1 million drivers crashing or having engine failure or getting penalties. I mean, he kind of lucked his way into it a little bit, but you got to make your own luck, and this time he did, because I mean in Miami he was on for points and he completely bottled it there for him and his teammate, because him spinning meant that his teammate had to take avoiding action, Emo Fittipaldi Jr., and neither of them scored points in the end. So what I'll do is I think I'll move back to this now, and there, oh wow, perfect. I didn't actually realize how useful it is to just have all of them on the same video capture device, because now I can just go whoop, 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 whoop. I have my tone's increased a little bit, guys, from the start, just because we're not talking about American motorsports anymore, but I will briefly talk about Colton Herta. Points again. That's 3 feature race points in a row for him. I don't know how he does it. He's not actually looked that quick this season. He's just managed to score points when he's needed to. But one thing you guys need to remember is this is only round 3. There's 14 rounds. Give guys like Stenshorne and Dunne and Bogdanovic, especially those 3, time, because they will cook. Okay? Those 3 will cook. And I don't know if I had to say the 6 guys that I would think would be in the top 6, it would be the top 3 that are in it right now. Meany, Kamara, Solov. And then it would be, the top 4. and then it would be Dunne and Bogdanovic with them. Van Hoopen and Leon maybe a tiny bit off. Same with Dirksen, because the thing is those guys are in really, really good cars. But also, because the thing is right, Trident look a lot better this season. John Bennett's not got any points so far this season, but he got really unlucky in Montreal. He should have had points in the sprint and in the feature, but he got completely screwed by a mechanical failure in the sprint, and then he got wiped out in the pit lane in the feature race. However, that was his team's fault. It wasn't the fault of... Was it Villa Gomez? I'll have to look back at it. I think it was a VAR. Comes out the pits and then hits the back of Bennett, and it wasn't and Bennett hits him. That's not the car behind's fault. It was Bennett's team's fault, the Trident's fault for releasing him at the wrong time, basically. But yeah, F2 was loads of fun, and I can't wait for Silverstone. And I mean, I hope Monaco's not going to be a complete bore fest, but it probably will be. But it'll be interesting to see how we split the responsibilities in my feeder series team, the dive bomb team. In case you don't know, so I'm one of quite a few people who are in the team. There's also Tegan, Vias, and where is she? Oh, Justina as well. Taran, but to be fair, Taran's more Super Formula, and I know that because I do some of the sub editing. Jasmine and I swear that there's somebody I've forgotten. Megana. There we go, Megana. So yeah, it's Megana, Jasmine, and Vias and Tegan that are mainly like the writers. Justina as well. And then you occasionally have like crossover articles. So for example, Archie, who you see here, he was at Indianapolis the other day, and he covers IndyCar and Indy Next. And then Taran covers Super Formula and, you know, loads of Japanese motorsport, basically. So as you can see, I had an article here. I don't know why my other one doesn't come up. It should come up unless I haven't added it to feeder series, in which case I will need to do that. Oh no, there we go. Yep, there we go. Now it's updated. So you can see I've actually got 3 articles, and I joked to the guys that, oh wait, I just realized I'm on the wrong page. There we go. Yeah, so as you can see, you've got, oh yeah, Morgan as well. So you've got Morgan, Megana, Jasmine, Tegan, myself, Vias, and Justina. And we're mainly the feeder series team. And as you can see, I've got like 3 articles in the last 3 days, which is like more than anybody else. And the reason why is because I was like, look, I've got nothing to do over the weekend, guys. I'll happily take 3 articles. And I think I joked about that I needed to touch grass. And it was a laugh. Everybody enjoyed that. Yeah. Honestly, I cannot believe the AIX has actually scored points. I genuinely thought, when I saw what their driver lineup was for this season, I was thinking, nah, they're not going to score points. But they've actually been better. They're actually quite good in Montreal. Emo Fittipaldi Jr. was actually really good in Montreal. I'll give him that. He actually had the pace of a solid midfield runner. Belinsky, I was expecting him to perform a little bit better, but he got rather unlucky, obviously, with a few different things. I feel really bad for Desanopol and Trapuvzak, because the thing is, right, yes, he did make the mistake in qualifying that cost him a chance at racing this weekend because he got too injured, but, you know, you never want to see a guy missing around through injury, and hopefully he'll be back for Monaco. He should be, because Monaco's still like a couple of weeks away. I think it's a 2-week gap, annoyingly. Formula 3 wasn't on, so then we move on to F1. And this is weird, because you guys saw my stream. I was complaining about how bad F1 was, and then I look at the comments afterwards. Not the comments on my stream, because nobody commented on my stream, sad face. But I look at online reaction, and people are like, that was an amazing race. And I'm thinking to myself, did I miss something? Because I actually didn't really think it was that good. Like, I suppose watching the Indy 500 and then immediately switching on F1, you're immediately disappointed because it's not going to be on the same level. So that's probably why. But honestly, like, there wasn't a lot that actually happened. However, the battle between Kimi and George was amazing. I will say that. The battle between Kimi Antonelli and George Russell was incredible. But best battle this season so far. Hamilton and Verstappen's battle was decent as well. It wasn't as good as that, obviously. Leclerc and Hadjar's battle was quite nice, and Hadjar looks to be finally breaking the driver curse, even though he's still 12th in the standings. Colapinto, honestly, he has turned a leaf, and now we're seeing why he came in for Dunne. He's been brilliant, and I genuinely think that there is a chance he beats Gasly this season. Like, he has been so quick this season so far, Colapinto. And, you know, when he's been involved in incidents, you know, sometimes it's been his fault, sometimes it hasn't. And hopefully his fans can stop acting like lunatics. That's the only negative about Colapinto, is that his fans are a bit... But that's the case, and this might sound a bit racist, but it is true, okay? I am a massive motorsports fan. I watch about 5 or 6 different motorsport disciplines a weekend, right? I even watched some of the British Touring Cars, by the way. It was alright. Last weekend, this is. Well, I was waiting for the Premier League action to start. Man United won 3-0. Get in. Also, Celtic won the Scottish Cup on Saturday. Get in. Brilliant goal from Arne Engels. Get in. Anyway, but yeah, like, I watch 5 or 6 different motorsport disciplines, and I have never seen fans like the Argentinians in terms of how they behave, right? They're interesting people, I will just say that. Lawson had a good race. I am very surprised. I will show you guys, right? I will show you guys that... I have it here, right? This is my preparation for Monaco, right? What I'll do is I'll move this right to the very bottom, if I can. Right, let's see. It should be okay now. So if I do that, yeah. Right, so you guys can see here, I've got my preparation for Monaco, right? Let's ignore the starting grid. I have got here that Lawson's on 14 points because I expected him to get a penalty for the collision with Gasly, and he didn't, which surprises me quite a bit, which is why I put Gasly on 22, because why I put some of the others on higher points than they actually were on. Like, I gave Sainz 5 points instead of 6. I don't know why I did that. But I'll go and sort all that out afterwards, and I'll have the stream ready for Monaco. This is, like, my stream prep, basically. And I do it all in OBS. I might as well just get rid of this, actually. Can I just remove this? Hang on. There we go. So, yeah, as you can see, I've got my constructor standings on the... Hang on, right, so it's pointing that way, yeah. On the left, and then on the right, I've got driver standings, then I've got starting grid, past Monaco winners, and then the track map, right? I've got my thumbnails sorted out for it already as well, which is quite good. But I'm very surprised that Lawson didn't get a penalty. I was a bit surprised about that, but... Carlos Sainz has been doing a very good job for Williams. I have to say, 3 ninth places in 5 races, very consistent. Obviously, they're not where they want to be right now, and I think come the end of the season, it'll be a very interesting midfield battle between Alpine, Racing Bulls, Haas, and Williams, and maybe Audi will be there, but I don't know if they will, because the thing is right, for me, I think the expectation should be a bit lower for Audi, because you got to remember, this is their first season as a factory unit. Obviously, they bought out the Sauber team, so a lot of the people who were there are still, who were at Sauber are still there. But it's a whole new engine, you know? And it's the same with Ford, to be honest. Like, got to give them a bit of time. And that's their first podium back since, that's their first podium back in F1, and their first since Fisichella in 2003 in Brazil, which is wild. But yeah, I'll run through the order now. I mean, you got Kimi in first. What can I say? The dude, like, I've known about this guy since 2021, and we all knew that he was going to be good. I didn't think it would come this soon. And I remember thinking in the middle part of last season when he was going through all of his issues, I think I actually said this, Give him time, guys. Give him time and he will deliver. I saw him race in FRECA and I saw him race in Formula 2 and he was incredible. He was, and he's going to be an F1 champion, whether it be this year or in a year or in 2 years. And he's already proving it against George Russell. Now, Russell got unlucky with the engine failure, and obviously he had the whole thing with his headrest, and he got fined for that. And Red Bull actually commented on a post about that on Twitter. I'm still calling it Twitter, by the way. I will always call it Twitter. And it was so funny. I'll have to go and find it now. Where is it? Here it is, here it is, here it is. Right. Here it is, guys. I don't know if you can see it, hang on. So Red Bull basically, somebody posts, George throwing the headrest is taking me out. And then Red Bull's actual Twitter comments, borderline something something, which is a reference to a clip of George where he goes, where so this is like the whole thing. Unnecessary anger and borderline violence.
Whenever anything is not going his way, he lashes out with unnecessary anger and borderline violence.
And that is just iconic. That is just so iconic. I wanted just to mention that because it was just so funny. But fair play to Lewis, his best finish for Ferrari in F1, and he has been absolutely fantastic this season. He's only just behind Charles in the standings. When I mean 3 points, so he's been really close to him this season. And in the head-to-heads, Lewis is actually ahead. If Lewis had a better round in Japan, then he would have been closer, but the McLarens were a little bit quicker in Japan. And so he wasn't really able to do as well. The McLarens had a really bad day yesterday. Honestly, in general, right, being a McLaren fan yesterday must have been really painful because, over the weekend I should say, because in F1, right, none of them score points in the race. Sure, they finish 2nd and 4th in the sprint, but that's still not great. In F1 Academy, Lloyd gets loads of penalties. Stevens gets loads of penalties. They don't score very many points. I'll have to see how many points did they actually score. I don't know how many they scored. They didn't score many. Stevens didn't score any. Lloyd scored a 6th in the first race and a 9th in the third, which isn't incredible, to be honest. Because the thing is right, this is Ella Lloyd you're talking about. Had a great rookie season. Then in F2. The guys that aren't in the McLaren Academy anymore finished 1st and 2nd in the actual thing. In the main race. Stenshorne and Dunne, they finished 1st and 2nd after being in the McLaren Academy until last year. And they don't have anybody, as far as I'm aware, in F2. I don't think they do. No, they don't. And then in IndyCar, Pato has a chance and loses it on the last lap and finishes 4th. Lundgaard has a bad strategy and finishes 17th, and Siegel finishes in 11th. Oh god, imagine being a McLaren fan over the weekend. That would be like being a McLaren fan when during the late 2000s and you're an England football fan. For those of you who are football fans, you will get the reference, and if you don't, Steve McLaren was the England manager and he was absolutely terrible. Look, the thing is right, what I really notice here is the man in third, Charles Leclerc. This guy he's so consistent at being best of the rest. When Red Bull were dominating, he was best of the rest. When Mercedes were dominating, at times he was best of the rest. It was either him or Max. And now the Mercedes cars are dominating again, he is best of the rest. What do you expect? He's used to being the in the second best car, never the first. Poor Charles, man. But if McLaren hadn't had their misfortunes, they would probably be second and third in the standings. Although Oscar's was self-hit. Norris just had mechanical problems, and he would have finished like 6th in the end, which is still bad, but he would have only been 6 points behind Lewis. Oscar's was self-inflicted though. I mean, I don't know how much of it. I think he had a 10-second time penalty in the race. And so, if you take away... Oh, you can't actually see it. That's annoying. Does it... Annoyingly, it doesn't show the gap to the car ahead. Which is rather annoying, because I want to know that for reference. Because then... Pardon me. I can see if he would have finished any higher. I don't think he would have. But maybe he might have. So, yeah, where were we? Oh, yeah, sorry. When you click on a wiki link, you always forget that it's in the same window and not in a different window. Anyway, yeah, Isaac Hadjar finishing in 5th. Great job from him. Back to doing what I was doing, which was 1st, 2nd, 3rd. Max was fantastic as well. Kept Lewis hanging on right until the end there. In a car that's probably not as good as a Ferrari. And you can see Red Bull are improving. And it's becoming... I remember remarking this during the live stream when I saw where the McLarens were, and it reminded me of 2018 again, because you had the big 3 teams, Mercedes, Ferrari, Red Bull, and then you had Alpine, aka Renault, at the top of the midfield, with Haas nearby. Only difference is Williams and Racing Bulls are performing well. Back then they were known as Williams and Toro Rosso. And Aston Martin, who then Force India, aren't performing well at all. I mean, this is one thing that I really didn't like about the race, and that was the fact that Aston Martin, Stroll, and Cadillac's Bottas finished 4 laps down. And the amount of cars that finished on the lead lap, only 4 of them did. That is the lowest amount. I did this. I went on statsf1.com, very, very reliable website, by the way. Great website for F1 stats and trivia, right? And I went back 5 years almost. 2021 Dutch Grand Prix, 3 drivers finish in the lead lap. Max Verstappen, who wins, Lewis Hamilton, who finishes 2nd, and Valtteri Bottas, who finishes 3rd, and famously went for the fastest lap attempt, despite being told not to. That's one thing I really didn't like, and that was, there was big gaps in the field as well. That was another thing that really irked me. So... that was why I was complaining a lot, because there's too many gaps in the field and the field's not very close. I think that if it's close at the front and if it's close in the midfield, you can get away with it. And it is quite close in the midfield, but it's not super close, which is rather frustrating. And if you can get away with it at the front and in the midfield, then it's fine. The back markers can be quite far back, and I wouldn't have much of a problem with it. I'd more so just be giving them stick for not doing a good enough job. But Alonso did manage to get himself into the top 10 very briefly, because he is an absolute mad lad. And Perez was actually doing a really good job in the sprint. I'm pretty sure he was fighting for like 12th, so fair play to him. So Leclerc finishing 4th. He just really didn't have any pace, and he literally said to his engineer, "Don't talk to me unless it's critical information until you tell me it's the last lap." That was what his race was like, and he was just glad to get out of Montreal, to be honest. I don't think he's ever really ran well in Montreal. I mean Montreal, a lot of people forget this. Montreal is where Ferrari's chances of winning the Constructors in 2024 just went into complete oblivion. What are his results in Montreal? I want to have a look at this. Has he ever actually scored a podium in Montreal? No, he hasn't. Wow, yeah, he does not have a good record in Montreal. He has 1 podium, and that was in 2019 in his first season at Ferrari. And that was when they had the illegal engine, and that was one of the races they benefited the most. It was Montreal, Spa, Monza, and Bahrain that they benefited the most from the illegal engine, because there was loads of straights on all the tracks. and like a lot of medium speed corners. Although I'm surprised it didn't benefit as much as Silverstone, but Franco Colapinto, I've already mentioned him. He's been outstanding. Same with Hadjar. Lawson, as I said, lucky not to get the penalty. Gasly, I think he had a few incidents in the race. So finish 8th is good. I mean, double points for Alpine again. That's, I think, the second time in 3 races that they've got double points. Because they got it in Japan. No. When did they get China? That was where they got it. Double points. So, second time they got double points this season, which is really good for them. It's almost as if Flavio Briatore's actually doing his job properly. Damn. Sainz again, as I said, he finished 9th, very consistent, and then Behrman in 10th. Behrman just carrying Haas right now, low key. Well, not low key. It's pretty obvious he's carrying Haas. Ocon is stinking up the Haas garage. I feel for Lindblad, by the way, because he just did not have a chance to really do anything. I'm trying to remember what happened with Albon again. Oh yeah, Oscar wiped him out into the hairpin. By the way, we never actually saw where Albon's car went, but we can assume it was the same place that Norris's car went. Because obviously Norris had his issue at the hairpin, and he was about to get past Gasly. I remember he was about to get past Gasly, and then he had the failure. Alonso came into the pits with a seat problem, and you know what? I was saying this on the broadcast. If they had gotten back out, he would have, he might have actually been able to be 17th, or be classified a little bit higher than some of the others. But that didn't happen, obviously, for him. And then Russell's engine failure, which we talked about. I mean, that could be a massive moment in this title race. I mean, I think about 2025. I think about the engine problem in, was it Zandvoort for Lando? I think it was last year in Zandvoort for Lando. And that was a big moment in the championship. And I would compare it to that. That could be something which defines this season. Yeah, it was. Although in the end, Norris, I have to give credit to him. I obviously, as you guys know, I'm not his biggest fan. But when it came to the crunch, he delivered, by the way. Like, he almost bottled it. And Max was the best driver in F1 last season, 100%. He deserved the championship. And I have not hid away from my opinion of that. But I just think, Kimi has got a 43-point advantage already, and George has a lot to claw back. The positive for him is that it's Monaco next, and often drivers who are relatively new to F1 tend to make more mistakes around there. I think of Leclerc in 2019 when he went for that move on, I think it was Grosjean, and he ended up hitting him and had to retire from the race. But then on the other hand, the person who Lewis is being compared to so much to, which is Lewis, he won the Monaco Grand Prix in his second season, despite having all sorts of issues with punctures. So you never know. And that was in the rain as well. So you never know. But one thing is for certain, McLaren screwed up on their strategy. They should not have pitted Piastri or Norris onto intermediates, because or started them on intermediates. If they just started them on dries, Norris would have still retired. I mean, that wasn't going to change anything. But Piastri would have finished in the points and would be ahead of Norris in the standings, potentially. I don't know if he had pace to finish in the top 5, but I think he would have been quicker than... Because he had damage. A lot of people don't realise this. He had damage from the collision. And as a result, he lost a lot of downforce, so he wasn't able to be as quick. So, I don't know if there's anything else for me to really talk about. I mean, Audi didn't have a great day. Cadillac you can't really expect much of. Aston Martin are just mudded again, although to be fair, Alonso did run in 10th, as I said very briefly, but he was much slower than Behrman, who was ahead of him. Gasly got stuck behind him, and you know, that probably costed Gasly 7th place in the race, being stuck behind Alonso in the opening laps. I just thought about that. That's just clicked in my head. Alonso going to his old team. Although, to be fair, technically he used to race for Racing Bulls as well when it was known as Minardi. Although, to be fair, they treated him better than Alpine did. So, go figure. And I think that's most stuff covered, I think it is. Let me go and have a little check. Cheeky wee check. Oh, yeah, here it is. Right, past events. Did I miss anything from this weekend? I didn't watch Monaco Formula E. Sorry. Oh wait, that's from a week ago. Sorry. Where's? Hang on a second. Is it live? Is it on live now? No, it's not on upcoming. Where is that event? Okay, I'm just gonna trust that I've covered everything. I think I have. So thank you guys very much for watching. I'll start it I'll finish it as I started it with paying tribute to Kyle Busch. As I said, I was devastated when he passed away and shocked, and I still can't believe he's gone. It's been what 4 or 5 days now. Yeah, 5 days I think it's been since he passed, and I'm still in shock about it. I was thinking about it earlier, and I was just like, I've cried over it. I'll admit it. I've cried over it, and it's so strange. It's different to, as I said, it's different to Zanardi, because it's a miracle that Zanardi lived for so long, considering everything that happened to him, with obviously what happened at the Lausitz's ring, the road cycling crash, the fire at his home. All of that happening to him, him living to as long as he did was a miracle. Whereas Busch dying so young, it's crazy, because when you hear that when I heard he was hospitalized, I was like, oh, he'll be better soon. And then you get the news that he's gone, and you just think, what's happened? And yeah, sepsis is just horrible. But I suppose one thing that can be learned from this is that if you're feeling symptoms of pneumonia or just feeling unwell, get yourself to the hospital and get yourself checked. I don't know if he would have survived if he had done that. Maybe he would have. But he was just in the simulator, and then he just passes out, and he never woke up. And condolences go to his wife and to his children. I hear that at Richard Childress Racing, they've essentially retired the 8 so that basically they can wait until his son, if his son wants to do NASCAR, which it looks like he does, waiting for his son to come and compete in it. So it's terrible news that he's passed away, because when it's a driver that talented, you really just think about everything that he did in the sport, and everything that the legacy he left. I mean, as I was mentioning earlier, but Suarez and Bell, for example, these guys are where they are because of him. It's been 4 days, sorry. By the time this is out, it'll have been 5 or 6 or maybe even a week. And yeah, condolences to his family, to his kids, his wife Samantha, his son Brexton, and his daughter Lennox. I remember I was listening to the story by Jeff Gluck, who's a journalist, and Jeff Gluck was mentioning about how him and his wife were living in an area, I don't remember where, and Kyle and Samantha were going through IVF treatment to try and have a daughter, and basically Jeff's wife was heavily pregnant at the time, and they asked if he would watch Brexton, because Brexton would have been 6 at the time, 5 or 6, and Jeff's wife went into labour that day, and after he had his daughter, he was thinking about what Kyle and Samantha were going through, and that story is an amazing one. And he just seemed like a really, because the thing is, right, he seemed like a very brash dude, but when it came to he wasn't afraid to give his opinion on things, right? And he had his rivalries. He had all the controversies over the years, and and what I did, out of respect, I deleted the short, the reel, the TikTok that I put up of me going, is Kyle Busch still an ass? And that was me referring to the interview that with Sean Hannity, less than a month ago, where he put Hocevar, Logano, and Keselowski on his hate list. And it's not because I don't regret that, it's just because I think it's a bit disrespectful to keep that up after what's happened. So I just wanted to say that. But I think what I liked was there was journalists who were talking about it, and they were saying it was never personal with him. With some drivers, it might have been. They would make it personal, but he never did. He always found a way to just be angry at other people that weren't the journalists. So it's a shock, really, that he is gone, because you just think about it and you're thinking he was racing the week before he died. But I already talked about it in a video, so if you want to go and watch that, as I said, and if you want to see my opinion on it and my perspective of it, then you can do. And if not, that's totally fine. It's just my opinion on somebody who's unfortunately no longer with us. And obviously, this last year for NASCAR has been absolutely terrible, losing Greg Biffle, Michael Annett, Kyle Busch, Denny Hamlin losing his old man. I don't remember, when did Humpy Wheeler pass away? Humpy Wheeler's not been gone for very long either. And then also, I can't remember his name, but Humpy Wheeler passed away only less than a year ago. There's been a lot that's happened over the past year for NASCAR. I'm trying to remember who the NASCAR channel, there was a guy who passed away. Kyle Loftus, that's it. So it's been a really rough time of it for NASCAR. And so I want to just send my best wishes out to the NASCAR community. I'm kind of a part of it, but I'm not American, so I'm kind of not. I've only really massively gotten into it this year, although to be fair, I did watch it quite a bit last year and the year before, but I'm getting into it properly now, I'd say. And yeah, that's kind of all I wanted to say today. This is a bit of a longer episode, but thanks for watching. This has been Fast on a Bullet, and I'll see you next time, guys.